everybody, I actually made it into the studio. Woo! That's right. 2 weeks ago, I was on set with several dogs, 5 dogs, for a short film, which I can't discuss just yet, but I will let you know when I can. Anyway, and then last week, my car said, "Screw you," like hours before the show, and I was like, well, screw you back, but that means I can't do the show because I'm not going to be able to get there. I had to do all kinds of crazy towing. It's a long story, very boring, I'm not telling you. So, anyway, this is episode number 32, and the topic is affection for dogs. Oh, everybody's favorite. It's one of mine too, but I tend to piss people off, and you probably, if you listen to anybody else, any of the other shows about how to pet a dog, etc., you will have an idea of why this is not exactly what you wanted to hear. So, in case you don't know, I am a mixed trainer, a mixed technique trainer, which means I am not an all positive trainer, which means I'm not politically correct, which means I get into trouble. So, it's kind of like, Music Man. P starts with, rhymes with T, starts trouble. It's an old one. Okay, so, So anyway, I'm going to explain things in terms of pack leaderships first, and then in terms of behavior modification. So anyway, just back into business stuff. If you guys are interested in basic obedience class, there's only going to be 2 more cycles of basic obedience for this year because the holidays kind of chop everything up. So if you have been procrastinating, you don't have much longer to procrastinate. So this Sunday, the 5th of October, I do believe it's the 5th, we have a 1:30 class for basic obedience. And my idea of basic obedience is you better train your dog to sit and stay at least 20 feet away from across the street with a hand signal and or, verbal cue, or it doesn't count. It doesn't matter that you can get your dog to sit in the house with a treat. That's how they start. That's not where it ends. So I will teach you how to not only gain your dog's respect, because you will actually be in charge like domesticated dogs need you to be, but you will also be able to do things with your dogs that you should be able to do, but you'll probably be the only one in the neighborhood who can, and that is to get your dog to obey at 20, 30 feet away. So anyway, that's going to start this Sunday. There's another one on the 25th of October, but that's the last one. That's a Saturday class. So you have those 2 choices, or you're just going to have to wait till 2015 for the next rounds. Also, movie tricks this Sunday, 7 to 8 p.m. That is actually all positive training. It's indoors. It's just 3 weeks in a row, so 3 Sundays in a row if you can manage it. And you need to wear crappy clothes, because we're going to be on the dirty floor giggling and feeding our dogs and be covered with slobber, and it's kind of a weird party, but it's good for times for you and the dog, and you actually sort of help the dog build their self-esteem. So it's a nice little, as long as your dog's not dog aggressive, we're cool. So that's also this Sunday. So if you're interested in those classes, or you just want to find out about it and get more details, go to www.bluecollarworkingdog.com. Go into the training tab on the left-hand side, and you'll see my face all over the place. I'm sorry, but you'll see my face all over the place, and that's where you'll find out about the classes coming up. So, all right, affection for dogs. First of all, I want to talk about, just in general, we're going to cover why, how, and when. This is kind of important because a lot of times we get pets because we want affection involved. That's kind of normal. We don't usually get pets just for decoration, unless you're Paris Hilton. So, just saying. So let's talk about the why. Now, I always like to relate things to how dogs see the world, because we have the ability to actually look at somebody else's situation and kind of empathize. That's not how I see the world, but I can see how you see the world. Dogs do not have that ability. They empathize in terms of emotion / hormonal smell coming through your skin, etc., and they learn to discern those things, but they're not able to actually cognitively change their worldview. They see things as dogs see things. So, why? Why do dogs need affection, first of all? How do they see it? Well, it's actually rooted in pack behavior. I'm going to refer to the article on doghealth.com, How Dogs Show Affection. Displays of affection are rooted in that pack behavior. It's all about survivability of the individual and the group, which sounds kind of like out of this world, because how does affection actually relate to survivability of the individual and the group? Well, survivability is related to hierarchy and dividing labor conducive to group survivability amongst different pack members. So if that's the case, and I know, all these people who are like all positive trainers and like, affection, 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 ignore the bad stuff, pretend like it's not happening, pretend like it's not happening, affection, 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 food, 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 affection, affection, pretend like he's not chewing your wall, pretend like it's not happening, don't correct him. Then what happens is that we are actually, the all positive trainers, which I do all positive training for certain things, is they're kind of ignoring the whole purpose of affection. So I'm going to go deeper into that. They want to give affection, which is good, and they usually give it for the right reasons, but they want to dismiss the fact that it's related to pack behavior and survivability. All right, so affection is part of displaying bonds, just like humans. Okay, that's where we kind of relate to each other, whether it's a pair of wolves that mate for life, or it's a way of keeping track of each other while sleeping through the night, or checking their health or mental status by smelling the glands around their mouth. Affection has a purpose that directly affects or signals the survivability of the individual as well as the group. It's kind of like a Facebook status. They check in with each other with affection, licking, smelling, rubbing, touching, testing their tensicity of I made that word up. The tension in their bodies. I just made that word up. Okay, so they test the tension in their bodies to see where they're at, okay? Whether they should hang out with each other or sort of back off each other. So it's important in terms of communicating to each other, but it has a purpose in terms of survivability. So there's affection in establishing alpha and beta hierarchy, that evil thing, dominance and submission, that so many people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pee my pants, it's horrible. All positive trainers tend to want to dismiss that pack behavior, right? But they're all about displaying affection or giving attention as rewards. But that is when you withhold affection for not doing work yet, but then when the dog sits, you give them affection, you're actually taking the alpha role, which the dog understands, which is why they're compliant and why it helps them grow in their relationship with you. So to pretend like that dominant submission thing is all evil and doesn't exist is not smart, and not accurate. So there's nothing wrong with giving affection as a reward. I highly recommend it. In fact, I use food and clickers, just like all positive trainers, as a way of shaping new behavior or building more complex layers of a behavior already learned. But ultimately, you want everything to be about giving and withholding affection. Because you and I do not want to be carrying that treat bag on the street everywhere we go. Ladies, it makes us look fat, it's expensive, it doesn't match our outfits all the time. It's not practical. Furthermore, you can't take food in things like, I don't know, the dog park. You may not be able to use food when they're really overwrought. So affection and trust in you, which is highly related to each other, hierarchy, trusting your decisions, is what you do have when you walk out on that street, as well as ownership of space, which we've talked about before. I probably will go into deeper some other time. So that establishing, that affection exchange or not exchanging it is about establishing alpha and beta hierarchy. All positive trainers want to dismiss it, right? So there's this whole point of where people want to give affection for everything. That's kind of the other swing of not giving any affection at all. And the problem with that is that it's just like children. If you give them affection for just being there and being cute, and you're amazing and you don't have to do anything, you just have to breathe the air that you're in, you got an a-hole in there as a result. Okay? We don't want to turn our animals into negative in terms of anxiety-ridden, possibly future aggressive, because that's where aggression comes from, is anxiety. We don't want to turn them into jackasses because we decided that we were going to give them affection because they were just that cute. So we have to be very careful about our role in terms of being alpha and making sure that affection is given according to merit. So, for instance, if your husband actually washes the dishes for you, you will give him more affection. So you will reinforce that behavior. If he's kind of a jackass because he's having a bad day, you'll just kind of withhold the affection. Maybe just keep it cool. He won't get angry. You won't get angry. You'll just keep it cool. You'll just relax so that he relaxes, and then we can talk about affection later. See what I'm saying? It's all related. We should understand this very clearly. We just need to fully apply this to the dogs. Okay. Let's go into the how. How do we give affection? Well, all right, I've alluded to this already. Alphas are more aloof. So if you have a bunch of dogs at the house, the one who kind of stays away from everybody, that's the alpha. Yeah, that's the one. The one who's like, oh my God, I gotta touch everybody. I gotta run over everything. Ah! That is the beta. That's the lowest one on the totem pole. That's the village idiot. So what you want to do is make sure that you're not the village idiot. I'm trying to help you here. All right, so alphas are more aloof. They tend to withhold eye contact. They avoid making a lot of vocalizations unless it's absolutely necessary. They withhold affection and play until it serves a very directed purpose. Do I want you to not touch your dog? That's not the case. Don't get all crazy and start spreading rumors. I do, but it has to be indirectly related to work that they did, which sounds horrible, but it's helpful for your dog. All right. Betas are lower members of the hierarchy. They'll play at will with rowdy moves and touch each other constantly and lean on each other and sleep on each other and step on each other's face and all that stuff. That's fine if you want to have that kind of relationship with your dog, but don't be surprised if they don't listen to you when they're freaking out on the street, okay? Whether it's like they're excited about something or they're scared. All right, in contrast to these two ways of interacting with a pack, that establishes who can be trusted for decisions and who is just a playmate and can't be taken too seriously, right? So if you want your dog to trust you for decisions like, hey, I got this dog, they're not going to bother us. Hey, that's my food, you can't steal the, poisoned meatballs off of the street. Hey, whatever, right? Then you're going to start doing that with affection, with holding affection, giving affection for a very direct purpose, and making sure your dog doesn't just take it by leaning up on you and jumping up on you and licking your face at will and all that good stuff, which I've talked about before. So, dogs are domesticated, which means they're bred to be submissive to humans to one degree or another. There's always a scale, right? But I always suggest you, the human, take the alpha role. And then when I suggest this to people, I get such lovely protests like, oh, I just want to love them. Oh, they need to be loved. It doesn't seem fair. Well, that's why I got a dog, to love it. Or the classic, I don't mind if I give the dog too much affection. Of course, you notice this is all about human desires and not what the dog desires or truly needs. That's what I call shubs, stupid human behaviors. So people see me interact with dogs and get all flabbergasted. I've been accused of not even liking dogs because I'm so tough and expect dogs to not touch me randomly and tell people not to pet their dogs. I will literally say to the dogs, we're not dating, don't touch me. It's supposed to be funny, but some people get very upset by that. And the thing is they'll say, they're so mean, they say. And I have to say, they're right. I'm just a mean bitch. I mean, after all, what is love if it's not putting aside your selfish desires to serve the needs of another? I mean, how dare I speak to the purpose of affection among dogs, folding myself into the pack behavior that a dog understands and needs and cannot change his brain to understand humans. I mean, how selfish of me to think of the dog's real needs rather than my false sense of needs. I take the aloof alpha role and I reward the submissive behavior, the lowered body, the soft approach. In reality, I love dogs so much that I don't give them a ton of affection just for being cute. If I feel like squishing my dog's face because he's that cute, I say sit first, and then I squish his face. I'm an evil bitch. How dare I? I made him sit. So cruel. All right. See, I want dogs with which I interact to fully and clearly understand what their role is, so they're not anxious and not confused what I expect of them. I want them to know what I expect of them, and this gives them an incredible sense of peace and stability rather than anxiety. I love dogs enough to build their trust in me, to develop their desire to please me as they would in a natural pack of other members of the canid species, and this kind of relationship tells me we are a bonded pack. No, not two species bumping into the night, This is the way it should be. There is no more incredible bond with a dog than a dog who trusts you with their complete